There is a mistake that ruins more lives than failure ever does. And the dangerous part is this. While you're making it, it doesn't feel like a mistake at all. It feels reasonable. It feels mature. It even feels responsible. I'm talking about the habit of choosing what is comfortable now instead of what is honest long term. Most people don't wake up one day and decide to waste their life. They slowly arrange it to be easier. They stay where they are because it's not unbearable. It pays the bills. It keeps people calm. It avoids conflict. So they tell themselves, this is fine. But fine is one of the most dangerous words in adult life because fine doesn't mean fulfilled. Fine doesn't mean aligned. Fine just means you've learned how to tolerate discomfort quietly. I've watched people build entire lives around tolerance. They tolerate work they've outgrown. They tolerate relationships that drain them. They tolerate routines that slowly erase curiosity. And because nothing is visibly wrong, they assume nothing is wrong. That's the mistake. The most damaging decisions rarely come with alarms. They come with silence. Years pass without collapse. No dramatic failure, no crisis, just a quiet feeling you keep pushing aside. And here's the truth most people only understand much later. A life doesn't fall apart all at once. It shrinks slowly when you keep choosing ease over direction. If this already feels uncomfortably familiar, stay with it. And before we continue, subscribe to Helen Restart. This channel isn't here to make you feel better. It's here to help you notice what you've been ignoring while you still have time to respond to it. What keeps this mistake alive is how socially rewarded it is. People praise you for being stable. They admire consistency. They respect endurance. No one applauds quiet dissatisfaction, so you learn to hide it, even from yourself. You get good at explaining your life. You say, it's just a phase. Everyone feels like this. I should be grateful. Gratitude becomes a way to silence honesty. You stop asking dangerous questions because they threaten the structure you've built. And the longer you play this role, the harder it becomes to admit you want something different, because wanting more starts to feel ungrateful, childish, or unrealistic. So you shrink the desire instead. This is how ambition turns into maintenance. You don't chase growth, you manage risk. You don't design your life, you protect it from disruption. And from the outside, it looks like success. From the inside, it feels like slow suffocation. I've seen people defend lives they secretly resent. They say, at least I'm not struggling, but they forget to ask, at least compared to what? Security without meaning doesn't feel like peace, it feels like a holding pattern. And here's the part people don't like hearing. Comfort is addictive. Once you get used to avoiding discomfort, even small risks feel unbearable. You don't lose courage all at once. You train yourself out of it. Every time you choose what's easiest instead of what's honest, that muscle weakens. And one day, change feels impossible, not because it is, but because you haven't practiced it in years. That's how this mistake deepens. There comes a moment when comfort stops feeling safe. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. You wake up tired even after rest. You feel irritated by small things. You lose patience with people who still feel alive. That's not aging, that's stagnation. What's happening is subtle. Your life is no longer asking anything from you. No stretch, no risk, no demand to grow. And when nothing asks anything of you, you slowly stop asking anything of yourself. This is where people confuse peace with numbness. Peace has energy. Numbness just has silence. I've watched people say, I should be happy, while their eyes looked empty. They weren't unhappy, they were underused. Human beings aren't designed to just maintain. We're designed to respond, to challenge, to meaning, to responsibility we choose. When your days become predictable and your choices become automatic, something inside you starts fading. Not joy, not success, agency. You stop feeling like the author of your life and start feeling like the manager of it. And here's the hardest truth to accept. No one takes that away from you. You give it up gradually in exchange for ease. You don't need chaos to feel alive. You need direction. And direction only returns when you're willing to be slightly uncomfortable again. Not reckless, not impulsive, honest. Honesty is uncomfortable because it demands change. Comfort asks nothing. Most people don't notice when the turning point passes. There isn't a date on the calendar, there isn't a warning. It's simply the moment when you stop believing change is meant for you. You begin to speak about life in fixed terms. This is just how it is. I missed my chance. People like me don't do that. Those sentences don't describe reality. They describe resignation. This is where the mistake becomes permanent, not because it can't be undone, but because you stop seeing yourself as someone who's allowed to undo it. You confuse age with limitation. You confuse responsibility with sacrifice. You confuse loyalty with self-erasure. And slowly your identity shrinks to fit the life you've accepted. I've met people who were once curious, bold, imaginative, who now describe their dreams in the past tense, not because they failed, because they stopped giving themselves permission to try. And the cruelest part? Nothing bad happened. No collapse, no scandal, no obvious loss, just a life that became smaller than the person living it. This is why this mistake is so hard to recognize. It doesn't announce itself as danger. It presents itself as maturity. But maturity without self-respect becomes quiet despair. And despair doesn't always cry. Sometimes it just gets very organized, very efficient, very empty. The opposite of this mistake is not chaos. It's not quitting everything. It's not dramatic reinvention. It's honest interruption. The willingness to pause and ask a question you've been avoiding. Is this still right for me? Most people never ask that honestly because they are afraid of the answer, not because the answer is extreme, but because it asks for movement, and movement disrupts comfort. Here is what I've learned after decades of watching people change or not. You don't need to know the whole path. You only need to stop pretending the current one is enough. Small acts of honesty restore agency. One boundary, one difficult conversation, one decision that favors meaning over ease. That's how momentum begins. And once momentum returns, clarity follows. People think they'll feel confident first and then act. It works the other way around. Action creates confidence. Truth creates energy. This mistake doesn't end your life suddenly. It dulls it slowly. And the fact that you're listening to this means something important. You still feel the signal. Pay attention to it. Comfort will always be available. Time will not. This is Helen. I restart my journey.